My parents expected me to buy my own wedding gifts, then complained I didn't get enough. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But I swear it's true. They were dead serious. And as much as I wish I could say it was some misunderstanding or a joke that went wrong, it wasn't. It was their reality. And unfortunately, it became mine too. It all started the day we got engaged. My fiancée Sarah and I were over the moon. We'd been together for almost 5 years at that point, and while it wasn't a whirlwind romance, it was a steady, deep connection, the kind that just felt right. We didn't do things by the book. We didn't have some grand ceremony or huge announcement. We were private people, but we were excited, and we wanted to share our happiness with our closest family and friends. The wedding planning went as smoothly as it could, though there were some bumps along the way. Our families, of course, were all too eager to help. Everyone had opinions on what we should do, what we shouldn't, where we should have it, who should be invited, and inevitably, the wedding gifts. We were both young, early in our careers, and saving for the wedding itself was a stretch. We didn't have a lot of disposable income, so the idea of buying expensive gifts for a huge group of people, most of whom were distant relatives we hadn't spoken to in years, seemed unnecessary. But my parents? They didn't see it that way. It was a Friday afternoon when I received the first hint of what was coming. I was on the phone with my mom talking about wedding details. She had been asking about the registry, about what we had chosen, and I remember answering her vaguely, not wanting to go into the details too much. The conversation drifted into the topic of gifts, and I casually mentioned that we were asking for cash donations to help fund the honeymoon, as we didn't really need more household items. That's when she said, "Well, I think you should buy a gift for everyone attending. It's just the right thing to do." I chuckled at first, thinking she was joking. But when I realized she wasn't, I asked, "Wait, so you expect me to buy gifts for everyone at the wedding?" Her response made my stomach twist. "Well, yes. It's a tradition, don't you think? And if you want to start your married life on the right foot, you should be thoughtful and generous." Generous? Thoughtful. I couldn't believe it. I'd been saving for months for the wedding itself, paying for everything from the venue to the food, to the photographers and florists. And now she was asking me to spend even more money on gifts for people who were already getting their meals paid for? People who might have forgotten my name if it weren't for the wedding? But I didn't want to argue with her, so I agreed, half-heartedly. As the days passed, I started to feel more and more uneasy about it. I couldn't afford to buy extravagant gifts for a dozen people, not to mention the fact that I had no idea what to buy anyone. I knew Sarah and I would probably get a few nice gifts from family and friends, but the idea of buying gifts for our guests felt. I had a few conversations with Sarah about it, and she wasn't thrilled either. But she was too diplomatic to rock the boat, too focused on making everything perfect. We decided to buy something nice for our immediate family, but after that it just felt like an endless money pit we couldn't climb out of. And that's when my parents took it a step further. My mom called me one afternoon and said, "We've been thinking about the gifts. We'll help you with them. But we expect you to give something special to each of us. A nice token, something meaningful." This wasn't just about buying a gift for each guest anymore. It was about expectations. It was about playing by their rules. It was about meeting standards I didn't even know existed. And it didn't stop there. A few days before the wedding, when we were knee-deep in last-minute preparations, my parents sent me a list of suggestions for gifts for them. "We'll take something for our living room," my mom said. "Something that shows you put thought into it. Maybe a nice vase," my dad added. They even suggested a specific type of crystal that was classy. A crystal. For my parents. I stared at the message for far too long, trying to figure out how I could even respond. By now, I was pretty much spiraling. But it got worse. Much worse. The day after the wedding, we were finally sitting down with some friends, unpacking wedding presents and chatting about the ceremony. Everything was great until I got a text from my mom. It simply read, "Did you buy gifts for all your aunts and uncles?" "Mom," I replied, "we sent thank you cards, and I thought the registry would cover everything." She replied almost immediately, "Well, that's not the same, is it? People expect a personal touch." A personal touch. I was officially losing my mind. But then the real punch came. It was 2 weeks after the wedding, and Sarah and I were going through the gifts, writing thank you notes. I got a call from my dad. "We didn't get a thank you from you yet. Is everything okay?" I felt my blood run cold. "Dad, we're still working through the list. We've been swamped, I promise. We're just trying to get caught up." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was cool. "Well, we expect a personal thank you for the gifts we gave you. We're family. I'm sure you'll get around to it. Just remember, you didn't really give us a gift, did you? We bought you a present, and there was no exchange." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The anger boiled up in me. "What do you want, Dad? What more do you want from me? I've already given you my wedding, my time, my attention. What do you want, more stuff?" There was silence on the other end of the line. Then he said, "It's not about stuff. It's about showing gratitude. About showing that you care. You don't want to start your marriage on the wrong foot with us, do you? Start our marriage on the wrong foot. Start our marriage on the wrong foot. How many times had I heard that line in my life, in various forms? Do what we say, show gratitude, make us proud. I was done. I was absolutely done. The wedding was behind us, but the weight of these expectations still hung over me. I kept thinking about the gifts, about the lack of gifts, about the way my parents had set up this invisible scorecard where nothing I did was ever enough. It wasn't about love or affection, it was about obligation. That was the moment I realized they didn't want to celebrate our wedding. They wanted to own it. They wanted to control it, manipulate it, and make sure we played by their rules. And when we didn't, they made sure we knew. It wasn't until a few weeks after the wedding that I finally snapped. Every day, I woke up with the weight of my parents' expectations pressing down on me. Every time I looked at the wedding gifts, the thank you notes that needed to be written, I felt a creeping sense of dread. It wasn't just the gifts anymore, it was everything. The constant need to meet their standards, to live up to their idea of what I should be. I had spent my whole life trying to please them, trying to be the son they wanted, but it was never enough, and I couldn't do it anymore. The final straw came when my mom called me one night around 10 p.m. I had just finished dinner with Sarah and was sitting on the couch trying to unwind. Sarah had noticed I was distant, my mind preoccupied, but she didn't push me. She understood, or at least I thought she did. She knew that the wedding was supposed to be a celebration, but for me it had turned into a constant cycle of disappointment and obligation. And now, with the thank you notes piling up, the expectation of gratitude hanging over me like a guillotine, I was at my breaking point. When I picked up the phone, my mom didn't even say hello. Instead, she went straight into her usual spiel. Have you sent out the thank you cards yet? Your father and I were discussing it, and we're still waiting. I was tired, so tired, physically and mentally. Mom, we're getting to it. We've been busy with everything else, but we'll get them out. She didn't seem to care about the reason. You're taking too long. Your father and I put a lot of effort into making sure everything was perfect for you two, and it's a little disappointing that you haven't expressed more gratitude. I sat there, feeling the familiar frustration build in my chest. We did thank you. We're just not as quick about it as you'd like. This isn't a race. You don't understand, she said, her voice tightening. You're not appreciating the gravity of this. We did everything for you. You're just not showing the respect that's expected of you. Something inside me snapped. The years of trying to please them, of meeting their demands, of always walking on eggshells to avoid their disapproval, it all hit me in that moment. It wasn't about the wedding anymore. It was about their control over my life. I took a deep breath, steadying myself before I spoke. Mom, I've been trying to appreciate everything you've done, but it's never enough, is it? You keep pushing and pushing, and I'm never going to be good enough. You want me to buy the gifts, send the thank yous, do everything your way, and you never stop to think about what I actually want. This wedding wasn't just about you, it was about us, Sarah and me, but you don't seem to care about that, do you? She was silent for a long moment. For the first time in my life, I could hear her struggling to find the words, unsure of how to react to my defiance. Finally, she said, I don't know what happened to you. You used to be so compliant, so eager to make everyone happy. You've changed. And there it was, the truth, wrapped in a criticism. I had changed. I had stopped being the son they could mold. And for the first time, I wasn't sorry about it. You're right, I said, my voice firm. I've changed. And I'm not going back to being the person you want me to be. There was a long pause, and when she spoke again, it wasn't with the usual warmth. It was cold, distant. Fine, do it your way, but don't expect us to be here when it all falls apart. And with that, she hung up. I sat there, the phone still pressed to my ear, unable to shake the feeling that something deep inside me had broken. It wasn't just that conversation, it was everything that had led to it. The constant pressure to meet their standards, the way they had used every family event, every celebration, as an opportunity to control me. I was done with it, done with them. I turned to Sarah, who had been sitting silently on the couch watching me. Her eyes were full of understanding, but there was also something else, concern. She knew I was at a crossroads, and she knew that what I'd just done was only the beginning. I'm sorry, I said, my voice heavy. I don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I'm losing everything. Sarah reached out, her hand gently touching mine. You're not losing anything, love. You're gaining yourself. You've been trying to make them happy your whole life, and look where it's gotten you. You don't have to keep giving in to their demands. I let out a long breath, my shoulders sagging. I don't know how to stop, though. How do I just walk away from them? You don't have to walk away, she said softly, but you do need to set boundaries. You need to make it clear that their way isn't the only way, and it's not going to work anymore. And if they don't like it, that's their problem, not yours. That night, we sat down and talked about everything. My parents, the wedding, the gifts, the expectations. It wasn't easy, but Sarah helped me see something I hadn't fully realized before. I had a choice. I didn't have to keep accepting their manipulation. I didn't have to keep letting them dictate my life. The next day, I called my dad. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew it had to happen. He answered on the second ring. What's this I hear about you refusing to send thank you cards? I exhaled slowly, gathering my thoughts. Dad, I'm not refusing. We're just taking our time. But that's not what this is about. Then what is it about? He asked, his voice growing more impatient. It's about control, I said, not backing down. It's about how you and Mom have always had this hold over me. You've always expected me to do things your way, and I've done it because I didn't want to disappoint you. But I'm done. I'm not going to keep doing it. There was a pause on the other end of the line. I could almost hear him trying to process what I was saying. You're making a mistake, he finally said, his tone colder now. You don't know what you're throwing away. Maybe I do, I replied. But I can't keep living like this. I can't keep living for you. I need to live for myself. There was another long silence before he spoke again. Fine. If that's how you feel. And that was it. No apology. No attempt to understand. Just cold finality. But this time, I wasn't crushed by it. I was relieved. It felt like the weight of years of expectation had been lifted off my shoulders. In the weeks that followed, Sarah and I kept moving forward. We didn't go to family gatherings at my parents' house. We didn't try to fix everything right away, but we began building our life together, free of their manipulation. We started setting boundaries, making our own decisions, and most importantly, living on our own terms. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't quick. There were days when I missed my family, when I felt that old pull to go back and make everything right. But I knew now, really knew that I couldn't keep sacrificing my happiness to meet their impossible standards. And in the end, I realized something. It wasn't about the thank you cards. It wasn't about the wedding gifts. It was about their need to control, to impose their version of how I should live my life. And that's the part I couldn't accept anymore. I found my own path. It wasn't the one they had planned for me, but it was mine. And that was enough.